All right, everybody. Welcome back to another week of the Lasting Learning Podcast. I am so glad you're here because today you're in for a treat. You get to hear from one of my favorite people on the planet. Today I'm joined by Rena Hawkins, who truly, I'm not just saying this, she truly is one of my favorite people. We've known each other now for a couple of years, both online and in person, and we'll tell that story maybe. But I just wanted to get to know Renee because she does some things masterfully. She is a relationship expert. And I don't even know if she knows that, but I look up to her in more ways than one. And I really want to just dig into how she got to be so amazing. So Renee, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself to everybody so everybody knows what you do and where you are, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate those comments, and the feelings are mutual, so know that.
All right. Thank you.
I'm Rena Hawkins, principal at Maple Elementary School in Smithville, Missouri, which is about 20 minutes north of Kansas City. This is my 23rd year in education. I taught for 11 years, first grade, fifth grade, and second grade. I was an instructional coach for 6 years, assistant principal in Smithville for 2 years, and this is my 4th year as lead principal at Maple. I have 3 children. My oldest daughter is a junior in college. My son is a senior in high school, and my youngest daughter is a sophomore in high school. And then my husband's a psychotherapist, so I say he keeps us all sane.
So good. So good. As we were talking before we started recording, and talking about your journey through education and how a lot of people would say that you checked all the boxes and you did all the jobs required to continue to just move up the chain, if you will. But I take note of the fact that you didn't always stay in the same district, that you were willing to move, or maybe even forced to move. I'm not quite sure how you see it in your own head, but can you just talk about that a little bit? What prompted you to leave what might have been comfortable to take a chance somewhere else?
Sure. Well, some of it was, we moved to Florida for my husband's job, and I wasn't afraid of Florida because my parents moved us there twice as a child. So I can say I've moved to Florida and back to Missouri 3 times in my life.
Same.
I think just always looking for the school that was the right fit. When the move happened, I knew I always wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know it would lead to instructional coaching and then administration. I didn't know I had that in me or even wanted that. I was really comfortable in a district, had been there for several years, but knew when I wanted to keep moving up and find the job in administration that it was time to change. And I don't regret those changes. I found, more people to connect with, a neighboring district that you don't even know how great it is until you go, and all the PD offerings and just the great people there that are, now part of my life, and great connections that I have.
That's awesome. And, I said one of the things that I admire about you tremendously is your ability to connect with people. Just like whether it's online or in person, you are just so relatable and so real and so honest and transparent. And you said that when you left districts and you started in your current district, for example, you didn't realize how amazing the people were. So what gave you that courage to step out and get to know these new people from the other side of the tracks, if you will, the neighboring district that was unknown? What gave you that courage?
Sometimes it's the internal competitive drive. Jokingly and with the most love, I can say I'm known as a girl boss here. And in the most positive ways, but sometimes it is that internal drive. I know where I want to be, and I don't get the yes the first time. And so I have to keep trying for that yes. And sometimes it means a change, and just being brave and stepping out and finding a good fit somewhere else. And, coming to Smithville has been awesome. After being here for a year, we moved our family here, and this is where my kids are graduating from high school now.
That's so good. I listen to your podcast religiously. Every Thursday, I'm tuning in to hear Share Mo EDU. And you've told the story about being girl boss before and how you don't take no very easily. You just keep knocking down those walls until you get that yes, which is powerful. But it's something that I know that I personally struggle with. And I've told people the story before. When I first got into education, I thought I had all the answers. Literally, after a year of teaching, I thought I was ready to go lead a school. and got my master's degree. And then between years 2 and 3, went on 16 job interviews to become a school leader. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, but I did it and got rejected from every single one. And I just thought everybody was crazy. I thought they were missing out on the next best thing. They didn't know I could walk on water. And I shut out the world and said, these people are a bunch of idiots. And I actually thought I was going to leave education. I went to law school, and I said I was going to be one of those guys that went out and started suing school districts because they were so wrong. But you take that and you say, oh, you tell me no? Let me show you why that's the wrong approach. And you go out there and you just continue to chip away at it. And I think that you do it in a way that's filled with grace. And
I hope so.
well, you still have your job, so there's that. But I think something else that you do is you recruit other people to come on board your ideas. You know, I've gotten to know your assistant principal, for example, Eric. And I would like to dive into that relationship a little bit as well, because the relationship between a principal and assistant principal is an interesting one, always, because you don't always see eye to eye, but yet you go out and you lead together. So can you just talk a little bit about your relationship with Eric and how you guys bring about support for all the changes and innovations that you're trying to bring about at your school?
Sure. So Eric and I were in our doctorate program together, and I was the assistant principal here at that time. When he saw that the principal job was open at what was Smithville Primary, he said one night in class, Hawkins, you better get principal because I'm coming for your job. So, you know, we had done a lot of group projects.
Either.
Right, he doesn't. We had done a lot of group projects together in class, and I knew we worked well together, but he had to prove himself to a team of teachers. And he came in, and he's also one that cares about building strong relationships, fit well with our team. You know, I knew my strengths. The team of teachers that helped hire could see his strengths and how we would balance each other out. And he's done a great job. So we, you know, have had to have hard conversations and learn together and learn our working relationship. You're right, we don't always see eye to eye, but we're able to talk through it and figure it out and show each other grace and just grow together. And I think we both have big, lofty goals and want to see change and positive change and want what's best for our students. And so we are determined to work together to find that.
That's awesome. And we'll talk about your big lofty goals in just a second, because I want to find out what they are. But I want to go back a little bit as well, because I think some of your personal goals. I'm going to speak. Maybe I'm extremely off base on this, but I'm going to speak what I believe to be the truth. I think that some of your own personal goals maybe extend outside the walls of your school. And especially with some of the connections that you make and the fact that you host a weekly podcast. And I know some of those goals were imposed upon you and that internal drive to try to show other people, yeah, you're brave and you can do it, but you've stuck with it. Can you talk to me a little bit about what caused you to step out of your school and embrace the connections now that you've got worldwide, really?
Sure. I, think it's just encouragement and having those relationships. So the podcast actually came from Adam Welcome, who was my friend on Twitter. I say in December, January of 2017-18, I was all over Twitter over that holiday break, and Adam reached out and said, you need to do more. And I'm thinking, no, I'm really good. I am in a really good spot. We're getting ready to have major renovations at our school. I don't think I can do anymore. And he said, no, you need to blog more and you need to start a podcast. And I was talking to him. So I told Eric, you're doing it with me. He said, okay. Adam persevered and really showed us the way. And we studied the craft of podcasting and aired our first episode in February of 2018. And we're still going strong. So we're in the 80s now. That's and it's just great connections. We say we didn't know we needed this in our life. And someone asked us recently, well, do you watch how many people, watch you? What are your ratings? And we were like, well, we don't really care about that. It's more about the connections and what we're learning through this.
Which is so cool. I think it's interesting, again, that somebody on the outside saw something in you and threw the gauntlet down and said, do this. I mean, I'm going to assume you had never met Adam Welcome in person prior to this. He literally just connected. Back then, it was probably through 140 characters at a time. Right. And he said,
I had received a phone call from Adam because he put on Twitter, if you're an administrator and want a personal call from me, direct message me. And I did. My secretary almost didn't put it through because she thought he was a salesman because he asked for Rena Hawkins instead of Renee Hawkins.
And how many times has that happened to you? But yes.
All the time.
Yeah, it's a great filter. but he saw something in you, and he had never met you before, and it pulled it out. And do you see that in yourself now? Do you see yourself as this connector, this relationship builder?
I mean, I think it's something that continues to develop and that I care a lot about. And I want that in my life. I need the connections. I know I'm better through connections.
Yeah.
And I love to share ideas.
That's awesome. So I'll just talk personally now. I think the thing that attracted me to you so much was, it was what, a year and a half ago now? I don't know what it was. So you reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to just be on my podcast? And I said, sure, why not? We talked for 20 minutes and answered questions and did your Fast Five and the whole 9 yards. And then fast forward a few months and you're on a family vacation down in Alabama. And at the time I was living an hour away, and we connected in person at this beach house in Alabama while you're on a family vacation. And I thought, oh my gosh. And not only did we connect, you said, hey, bring the whole crew out. And I've got 4 kids, and my whole family came out to totally invade your beach house at dinner time. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing person. And it's something that I admire, because I'll be honest with you, I would never, ever do something like that. Somebody that I'd never met before in person, to say, come interrupt my family vacation. I just thought it was so cool. But it's challenged me. It really has pushed me to make connections more than just virtual connections, more than just online, because that's kind of where I live, to be honest with you. I'm a guy that has always struggled to make real friends. I grew up as a Navy rat, and I traveled all the time, and I can make connections, but making friends is tough. Being real and vulnerable is tough. And I've never told you this, but I truly credit you with pushing me outside of my comfort zone and challenging me to be real and vulnerable. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but a lot of that blah that comes up online now, it's because of you. So I personally and professionally appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you, Dave.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your goals now. Where are you going next? What's the next big thing?
Again, Adam, welcome. I'm really happy where I am.
You're going to run marathons. Is that the plan?
I don't know. I used to do that. I need to get back into that. I love being a school leader.
Yeah.
My heart is here at the school with the kids. I love being here. Just within our school, goals are to start a student podcast this year. That's so something, awesome. Yes, I want to start. So I mentioned that we went through some renovations recently. This is our second year as a K-6 building, actually preschool through 6th grade. Prior to that, we were the only school in Smithville that housed kindergarten through 2nd grade. So last year was our first year opening as a neighborhood school. We built a 3rd elementary in our district, and we all became neighborhood schools.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you talk about connections. I was the only K-2 principal in this school or in this district. And now, I had an elementary counterpart, but now I have 2 great elementary counterparts that I can collaborate with, and we share grade levels now. So that has been awesome. This year, you think it would be easier the 2nd year opening, but I have about 12 new staff members. Yes. So some staff went back to their home school, some staff retired, some stayed home with their children, but about 12 new staff members. And, it sounds scary, but it was an opportunity to hire the right people for our team and really consider what we need and who fits our beliefs and our visions.
Yeah.
It's an exciting opportunity as well.
You talk about those beliefs and that vision. You are someone that doesn't just sit back and tells people, here's my vision, here's what I need you to go do. You live it. And a testimony to this is, one of the things that you just did recently in your school is, I'd say, has gone kind of viral right now with the connections that you as the principal have made with all of your students. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I can. So I have to credit Lori McIntosh, who I met on Twitter, a Canadian teacher from a private school in Canada, teaches kindergarten, and she would credit Tom here, who wrote a book. I had to write it down so I didn't forget to say it. 7 keys to the positive learning environment in your classroom. And so he just believes that every student is a success story waiting to be told. And she had blogged about it, finding kids' DNA, their dreams, needs, and abilities. She did it with her kindergarten students, and it has been a goal for 2 years at least to do it with my entire school and get every student's picture up. So I took all of last week. I had a rolling desk. I rolled the hallways, called students out of their classroom one at a time, and interviewed them to find out their DNA. Took the picture and hung them in the hallway. I still have 3 students, just new students that have come, or weren't able to make it the first week of school, the first full week. So I have 3 more pictures to hang, and then everyone is displayed in our hallway.
And how many kids?
About 410.
Wow. So 410 kids, and you're meeting with every single one individually, having conversations. And I would argue that you probably don't remember every single conversation you had with all 410, but I guarantee the 410 all remember the conversation they had with you.
I hope so.
That is powerful, powerful stuff. And the fact that you, in the first week of school, were willing to call kids out of class to say, this is important. The connection that we have with you, and it's on display for everybody to see now, and who you are as a person is important to us, I think just sends such a powerful message, especially in this day and age when every kid's just a number. I think you nailed it. You nailed it. So well done.
Well, I do find myself walking down the hall going, okay, I know your name. I know your name. I know your name. I knew a lot of names that even with the new kindergartners coming in, I can really say I have a good handle on names now, or I can remember something unique about that student.
That's awesome. Especially with kindergarten, when half of them don't even know their own names. You know their names, so that's a step in the right direction. That's awesome. So,
Thank you.
So we know that your school is going to be amazing. We know that you've got connections galore. You're making new connections professionally. What is next for you personally? What is your next big thing?
I really want to write a children's book.
Oh, yay. Well, I really want to buy a children's book. So this is a match made in heaven. What do you want your children's book to be about?
I don't know if I'm ready to say yet.
Okay.
I'm working on something. And, I believe that I connect with people for a reason. So Dave Matthews this summer, Dennis Matthews, connected with him this summer.
Matthews.
So, Dennis Matthews, who was a speech language pathologist at an elementary school and now has turned author full time, wrote Bello the Cello, My Wild First Days of School. So, he's been sending me encouragement, and we've had some phone conversations too, just about how he got started and what route he took. So, that's in the back of my head. It's a long-term goal. I don't think I'll turn around and have a children's book by next week, but.
Yeah. And that was a great podcast episode, by the way, too, when he was on talking about that. I really, I'm 41 years old and I still love to read children's books. I read, One Drop of Kindness by Jeff Kubiak and Cannonball Lynn by Terry Martin. There's some great ones out there that not just resonate with 5 and 6 year olds, they resonate with us as well. So follow that dream. I can't wait. I cannot wait, even just to hear the journey. Because I can't wait honestly, selfishly, I hope you get told no the first time by a publisher, just so I can see the reaction from Renee, who does not take no for an answer.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome. No, I can't wait to see this journey. So anything else that you want to share with us? Any little nuggets, if you could offer your elevator speech for education or just for life to the people that are listening, what do you want to leave them with?
I think I will share that my one little word this year is appreciate. So just learning to appreciate, what I have, where I am, the connections that I can make still, and the ways I can empower students within my school and even beyond by impacting other educators is important to me. So letting students have leadership opportunities, amplifying their voice through hopefully a student podcast this year. We do live morning video announcements, just finding those ways to help students shine and realize their potential is important.
So good. And the fact that you are all about authentic, real connections, not about building a follower base, not about seeing how many downloads your podcast gets, but making real connections with real people on a real level. It's awesome. And that's why you're my hero. So, so thank you so much for giving up time on a gloomy Friday morning there in Missouri. I really, really appreciate it. And I know that the listeners to this will as well.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the conversation too. I'm ready to have a great Friday, even though it's gloomy outside.
Awesome.